Hello guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. We all know that my physical TBR is ridiculously large. I think last time we looked it was over 400 books. I have recently unhauled about 50 books though, and a lot of them were TBR books, so it would be interesting to recount my physical TBR and see where we're at now. However, my physical TBR isn't the only TBR we have, because the other TBR we have is the Kindle TBR. When I first got my Kindle, I started downloading books on it hoping that it would stop me buying the physical books. However, the physical books just became trophies for the books that I read on my Kindle, and for that reason I have a very large Kindle TBR as well as a very large physical TBR. We're just going to ignore the fact my stickers are falling off my Kindle. I just have the basic Kindle. I think mine's the 2022. Unsure entirely which one it is. I really love my Kindle. I take it everywhere with me. I have got a different case where it's got like the flap cover, so if ever I'm just chucking it in my bag, at least the screen's protected. Before today's video, I thought it'd be interesting to go through my Kindle TBR and tell you all of the books that are on there. And then we can also see how many books cross-reference into books I have on my physical TBR. Because I feel like there's probably quite a few where I have the Kindle TBR version and the physical TBR version, and then I don't have to count it twice. But there's a lot that are completely separate, so that's always going to be fun. So I'm gonna flip you around and you're literally gonna look at my Kindle while I'm doing this, and you guys can have a look what books I have on my Kindle TBR. So hopefully we can see this all right. I've just popped my camera just in front of my Kindle here. Obviously on my Kindle I have all of my series grouped up. So if we open up this first series, the first book I have on my Kindle TBR is Absolution by L.A. Cotton. This is the final book in the Chastity Falls series, and I am actually currently 35% through this book, so hopefully it won't be on my TBR for too much longer. Okay, the angle's probably changed slightly, but my tripod is now standing upright. The next thing we have is Pucking Around, Pucking Wild and Pucking Sweet, all by Emily Rath. These are 3 books in the Jacksonville Rays series. Now, part of the reason I haven't bought physical copies of these books is because they are so chunky. I'm not sure why it says I'm 5 and 6% through these books. I don't even think I've ever opened them, so not entirely sure where that's come from, but I have 3 more books on my Kindle TBR. Next up, we have the Silver Pines Ranch series. So we have Holding the Reins and Training the Heart, both by Paisley Hope. Book 3 I think comes out soon. I do have these 2 books in physical copies too, so they are also on my physical TBR. We then have Lovely War by Julie Berry. Again, I do have the physical copy of this book. We then have 3 more books in the Brandywood series by Annabelle McCormack, and there is Once We Met, Until Forever Ends and Ever With Me. I'm super excited to read these books. The first 2 books in this series were a 4.5 and a 4.75, so can't complain at those. Then we finally, on this first bit, have The Favourites by Lane Fargo. This one has sort of been going viral at the minute, and I'm super excited to give it a read. Next up on Kindle Unlimited, I have Spark of the Everflame, Glow of the Everflame and Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. These 3 books are all in the Kindred's Curse saga. I have book 1 as a physical copy but do not own the other 2, so there's another one that is a bit of both, but I'm very excited to start this series. We then have Wild Love by Elsie Silver, again another one that I do have the physical copy of. I then have Quicksilver by Callie Hart, another one I have the physical copy of. The ones on Kindle Unlimited are often ones that I do have physical copies of as well, because I like sometimes reading on my Kindle. We then have In the Weeds, Mixed Signals and Business Casual, all by BK Borison. These are all in the Love Light Farm series, and again I do own all 3 of those on my physical TBR. We then have the Face Off series, which is Face Off, Power Play and Slapshot. This is part of the DC Stars series, and I do own all 3 of them on my physical TBR. The final book we have here is Passenger Princess by Morgan Elizabeth. This is another Kindle Unlimited read, and it's another one that I'm very excited for. Next up, we have Heir of Broken Fate by Mads Rafferty. This is a fantasy read, and I'm super excited to read it. She is an Australian indie author, and she has a booktube channel as well, so I'm really excited to read some of her works and support her as an author. We have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I do own the physical copy of this, however it's a chunky book and the writing is tiny, so I'm very glad that I do also have a copy of it on my Kindle. I then have His and Hers by Alice Feeney, another one where I'm super excited to give it a read. I probably will end up audiobooking this book, because I do audiobook a lot of my thrillers, but this is another one I'm excited to get to. I then have in the off-campus series, I have The Score and The Goal, and I also do have The Mistake, but I don't know why it's not being put together as the series. These are books 2, 3 and 4 in the off-campus series. I read The Deal not long ago, gave it a 4.5 stars, absolutely loved it, so I'm super excited to carry on with this series. I do actually own those 3 books as physical copies. Next up, we have Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, another one that I'm super excited to read, and again I do have the physical copy of this book. Okay, moving down, we have The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I am 40% through this book. I'm enjoying it so far. It's not my favourite thing in the world though. And again, I do have the physical copy of it, so it is actually getting a book off of my physical TBR. This is another Kindle Limited pick. I then have Taming 7 by Chloe Walsh. This is the final book in the Boys of Tommen series. And again, I do own the physical copy. We then have War Hour by Lauren Lossig. This was one I saw on TikTok and it was available on Kindle Unlimited, so I thought why not download it and give it a go, and I'm really excited to give it a read. Next up we have The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez, and this is a tiny little novella by Abby and I'm really excited to give it a read. Her novellas are always so quick and so fun, and you literally cannot go wrong with an Abby novella. We then have The Invisible Women's Club by Helen Paris. This is one I saw my friend receive as a gift and I just thought the cover was absolutely stunning. So when I saw it available for 99p on Kindle, I thought I had to have it. I then have the first 3 books in the Plated Prisoner series, which is Gild, Glint and Gleam, all by Raven Kennedy. I've heard really good things about this series, but I know the books get ridiculously long towards the end of the series, so I am quite intimidated by it. Moving down, we have The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. I know this is some people's 5-star read, so I'm very, very excited to give that one a go. I then have the first 2 books in the Eden series, so Indigo Ridge and Juniper Hill. Another one that I'm quite excited about because I know it's small town romance but also has the mystery element, and that just sounds completely up my street. We then have Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I've been trying to get into Frederick Bachman this year and I've read A Man Called Ove, and I won't say it was my favourite book in existence, but I am excited to give another one of his books a go. We then have A Promise of Peridot by Kate Golden. This is the 2nd book in the Sacred Stones series. I own the first book, which is A Dawn of Onyx, in a physical copy, so this one doesn't actually knock one off my TBR, but yeah, it will get read eventually. We then have Playing the Game by Sasha Lace. This is a hockey romance, I'm pretty sure. It was another one that just came up on my TikTok and I thought why not give it a download. Happy After All by Maisie Yates. I'm pretty sure this was one that was free at one point and I thought it may come in handy at some point. We then have Blue Sisters by Coco Malors. Another one I'm really excited about. I've heard a lot of her as an author and I think she's very much like a contemporary fiction style author, so another one that I'm really, really excited to give a read. We have Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This is the same author as The House on the Cerulean Sea, and that is one of the books that's on my 25 books for 2025, so I'm very excited to finally read that, and then hopefully I can read Under the Whispering Door. We then have both 13 and The Accomplice by Steve Kavanagh. These are in the Eddie Flynn series, so Eddie Flynn is a criminal lawyer and takes on loads of cases. I do own the entire series in physical form. There will be knocking TBR books off from both. I then have All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Again, this is another one I do have the physical copy for and I'm very excited to give this one a read. We then have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I have a love-hate relationship with Riley Sager and I've heard very, very mixed reviews of this book. I do own the physical copy of this as well, so this is one that I think I'm going to get to pretty soon actually. We then have The Lamplighters by Emma Stonex. I had seen this advertised on a TikTok video and instantly went and downloaded it, and it was 99p at the time, so you literally could not complain. Next up we have White Tree Coven by Libby James. This is one that Libby is in a book club I was in, so I wanted to support her. We then have Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. This is a mystery thriller. My friend read it and said it was absolutely phenomenal, so I instantly downloaded it. I haven't started this book, no idea why it says I'm 7% through. We then have The Village Library Demon Hunting Society by C.M. Wagon, maybe? That is the longest title in existence for no reason whatsoever. This was one that I bought around Halloween time and I'm very, very excited to read it in October this year. We then have both Anatomy and Immortality. I don't actually know the author of these books, but this is the Anatomy duology. But I've heard really good things about these. I saw Rachel Catherine read them and that instantly made me want to give them a read, and I don't have physical copies of these either. We then have 5 Broken Blades by May Corland. I do have a physical copy of this book, which was a sprayed edge edition from the Works, which is so gorgeous. Again, I've heard mixed things about this book. I know Sarah Corelli DNF'd it and that just was not my kind of vibe. We then have Haunt Your Heart Out by Amber Roberts, another one that came up around Halloween time, and this just made me super excited to give it a read. We have Unsteady by Peyton Corrin. This is an ice hockey romance and I do own the physical copy of this also. We have Beartown by Frederick Bachman, another one by Frederick Bachman, and I do own the physical copy of this book. We have Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and this is one I don't own a physical copy of, but another one I'm excited for. We then have The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas, Dolly Alderton's Ghosts, and You Belong With Me by Vari McFarlane. And I don't own any of those books. Next up, we have In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. I don't own this book physically. I own a few other Rebecca Searle books though, and I have enjoyed them in the past. We then have The Rom-Commers by Catherine Centre. I love Catherine Centre so much, so I'm so excited to read this, and I do own the physical copy. I have The Anti-Heroes by Jen Lancaster. This again was another free one I got given at some point. We have The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This was Ellen Catherine's 5-star thriller read of last year, and I'm so excited to give it a read. We have Night Road by Kristen Hanna. I do own this book. I think I own most of Kristen Hanna's backlist at this point. We have Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. I don't own this book, and I don't think I ever actually will. Looking at it now, it's not one that really excites me, but it is one that I will read at some point in the future. Moving down, we have The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I do own the physical copy of this book also. We have Talking at Night by Claire Davidley. This is one that I've seen very good reviews about, so I'm super excited to give it a read. We have Young Jane Young by Gabrielle Zevin. I don't own the physical copy of this one. We have The No Show by Beth O'Leary. I'm pretty sure this is a Groundhog Day around Valentine's Day, and I don't own the physical copy of that, I don't think. We have The Breakup Tour by Emily Wibberley, and we have Hate Mail by Donna Marchetti, both of which I don't own physical copies of. Next up, we have The Rule Book by Sarah Adams, One Day by David Nichols, and The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I own all three of those books, so those are ones that will be knocking off my physical TBR as well as my Kindle TBR. We have Ralph's Party by Lisa Jewell. I own that book. I have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. That is one I do not own. And we have Red Rising by Pierce Brown, which I do own the physical copy of. We have This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I do own the physical copy of this. We have The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. Again, I own the copy of that. We have When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect, both by Sarah Adams. I own When in Rome, but not Practice Makes Perfect. We then have The Girl He Needs by Christy Rose. This was a Stuff Your Kindle Day pick. I then have Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, another one that I don't own the physical copy of, but I'm excited to read this. We then have the first 4 books in the Lancaster Prep series, which is Things I Wanted to Say But Never Did, A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime, Promises We Meant to Keep, and I'll Always Be With You. I do own a copy of A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime, and I own the 5th book in the series, which is You Said I Was Your Favourite. So I think we're just about past halfway. So we have Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt, Endgame by Chloe Walsh, Legend Born by Tracy Dion. We have The Wake Up Call by Beth O'Leary, The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I love these covers. Whenever I see them in the works, I adore them. We have The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, another Groundhog Day romance. We have The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I potentially own that. Do I own that book? I don't know if I own that book. Maybe. There is a potential chance I do own that book, but I'm not actually entirely sure. I then own book 1 and 2 in the Natural series, so The Naturals and Killer Instinct, and I do own the entire series physically. That is by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. We have The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I'm pretty sure I own that, but I'm not 100% sure. We have Cleopatra and Frankenstein, also by Coco Malors, another one that I'm really excited to get to reading. I read the synopsis of this and loved it. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I don't own the physical copy of this book, but I own books 2 and 3. Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson. This book always intrigues me, even though I've heard very mixed things about it. We have Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. This is one, again, I've heard very mixed reviews about, but I do have the physical copy. We have Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is one I haven't got a physical copy of, even though I do own most of Taylor Jenkins Reid's works. We have Sincerely Yours, Anna Sherwood by Beth Recalls. The Long Game by Elena Armas. I don't think I own that book. I do know I own The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, and I Hate, I Bake and I Don't Date by Elena Jacob is another one that was on a Stuff Your Kindle Day. I think a few of these now are going into Stuff Your Kindle picks. So we have Totally Pucked by Lauren Blakely. We have Shatter Me by Tahara Murphy. This is one I do have the entire full series physically. We have You Are Not a Before Picture by Alex Light. Happy Sexy Millionaire by Stephen Bartlett. I'm not gonna lie, these two here are non-fiction books and they're just not my kind of thing, so I don't know if those will ever be read. We then have Too Late by Colleen Hoover. Again, I don't know if this will ever be read. I'm not a fan of Colleen Hoover anymore, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be. We then have In Too Deep by Mara Jacobs, another Stuff Your Kindle pick. We have Get Lucky by Lila Monroe, All Last Summer by Stephanie J. Scott, Loving the Ladies' Man by Kristen Canary, The Hot Shot by Sophia Nix, Inconveniently Bayou by Erin Nicholas, Totally Pucked by Paris Winters, again all Stuff Your Kindle picks. We have Matching Hearts by Ellie Hartwood, Wrong Text, Right Love by Claudia Bergower, How to Choose a Guy in 10 Days by Lilia Monroe, The Billionaire's Wake Up Call Girl by Annika Martin, Cupcake Cottage by Jean Oram, and Flirting with the Playboy by Gia Stevens, Music Man by K.L. Montgomery, Good Guy by Kate Meader, The Best Laid Plans by Meg Fitz, Bad Blood by Bella Jacob. This to me has to be some sort of Twilight fan fiction because the fact that her name is Bella Jacob, you can't tell me it's not. We have Always With You by, potentially, is that Fiona Grace? And we have the Somali Sisters collection by Marcy Steele. Mel's Vampire Coven by Tracy Lovelock. The Buchanan Billionaires by Emily Ann James. The White One by Jamie Rogers. Make Me Wilder by Serena Bell. My Lucky Number 13 by Piper Rain. No Funny Business by Talia Hunter. Falling for the Boss by C.R. Gray. Thinking About You by Claire Hastings. Good Vibes by Lexi Timms. Running from the Prince by Julia Keenan. Enemies with Benefits by Roxy Noir. Unraveled by Amy Nutt. Someone Like You by Tracy Corbett. Room for Improvement by Jessica Gregory. Meet Me in the Penalty Box by Callie Mell. Play the Part by Ebony Brewer. Opposites Attract by Camilla Isley. And there's a Forever Cowboy series by Genevieve Turner, and that is kind of intriguing me. And the final 6 books we have here is A Long Time Coming and So Not Meant to Be. These are both in the Kane Brother series by Megan Quinn. I didn't love the first book, so I'm kind of debating whether I actually do want to read these 2. We have 3 Colleen Hoover books down here, so we have Maybe Now, Verity and Never Never. Again, I'm very hit and miss about whether I actually want to carry on reading Colleen Hoover's books, so these may be a miss from me. And we have Love Me Do by Lindsay Kelk, which this looks like a very cute summer romance, so I think I will be reading this in summer. So that is every single book on my Kindle TBR. I have 160 unread books on my Kindle, so we have a Kindle TBR of 160 books, bang on. I'll pop a tally on the screen of how many of the books I have the physical copy of and the Kindle copy, because then that obviously doesn't equate to like 2 versions of the same for my TBR. And then I will quickly, while editing this video, I'll count how many books I have on my physical TBR. Now I've unhauled a load, although I think I probably have actually gained quite a few since I last did my TBR video. And I will work out how many books I have on both my Kindle and physical TBR in total. And I'll pop that value on screen here. I have a feeling it's going to be quite a lot. I didn't want it to be this many, but realistically it's going to be this many. I love reading on my Kindle, so having the books that I have physically on my Kindle as well does enable me to read them when I'm sort of out and about and don't want to take a physical book. I've said it once before and I'll say it again, no one needs this many books. Reading is my huge hobby. I love reading with a passion. This is my happy place. I love it in here. My library just makes me happy. I really hoped my Kindle would mean that I'd read the books and not buy them. However, I feel like I have got like a big trophy cabinet behind me, which I kind of love. I do kind of love. That is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love it if you would do so. There is still a giveaway going on my channel. This video is going up and it'll be the last video that goes up before I announce the winners over on my Instagram. So if you haven't already entered, I would highly recommend you do so. It is to win a Literature Stitches sweatshirt of your choice. I will leave details of the giveaway in the description below. As always, in the description is also my Instagram, my Goodreads and my Amazon wishlist. And I will see you guys next time for a brand new video. Bye!